Today's talk is called The Voice in Your Head is Not Who You Are. The voice in your head is not who you are. Okay. So, like always, I think I will start by talking about non-duality and what non-duality is, and then we will move on to answer the question. What is non-duality? So when I'm speaking, I like to or the way it works here, it's not so much alike, but the way it works is that I wait for like that energy of speaking. So normally in our day-to-day life, we're speaking or coming from a place of the mind and imagination. That might not be obvious necessarily, but there is this speaking from what we feel like we should be or need to be, rather than what we are as this moment. And so I like to try and speak from a place of presence rather than a place of thinking. However, I have to say, I am totally burning up. If my partner is listening to this, which I think he is, could you come down and help me? I think that the temperature in this room has gone a bit crazy. Would you be able to come down and open some doors and everything? If I do that, it will be quite distracting. Yeah, so authenticity, that's what I was trying to say before I burnt up, is there's different ways of speaking and acting. And this has to be your own exploration. It can't be something in which I or someone teaches to you. Like you can act from the mind, or you can act from presence. And when you're acting from the mind, or from seeking, it's more of a contracted, anxious energy. And when you're acting authentically from yourself, you're acting more from this stillness, from this place of stillness. But that's a really hard thing to explain unless you look inwards and discover what that stillness is. To me, that stillness is who you are. Like, who we are right now is not a character moving in time, not an idea moving through time. We are a still presence that's here, and every action is coming from that still presence. Every action. The movement of your hand, the room, the walking through the room, the heart beating, the images, the thoughts. And what happens in awakening is you move from being mind identified, so your consciousness, your personal consciousness is sort of stuck in the mind or very focused on the mind and thoughts and what you think. It kind of is so stuck together, it feels like you are the mind and you are thinking. And you don't even realize you're thinking when you're identified, you just are that. You are your body, you are your mind, you are your imagination. You don't even notice that who you truly are isn't that. Who you truly are is this empty presence that's watching and this sense of I am. And they're both totally still. And what can happen is that there can be this disidentification with the thought-based reality, with a mind-based reality, with who you think you are, to a dropping back into what you've always been, which is stillness. So you must have heard of Eckhart Tolle's book. Or is it just audio talks? It might just be audio talks. He has one called Stillness Speaks. And Ramesh Balsekar has a book called Consciousness Speaks. And that's the same that I'm talking about. So rather than talking from an imagination of yourself, you're talking from the stillness of what you are. That empty freedom of what you are, right here, right now, in this. So when I do talks, I try to have all the attention in the stillness rather than in what I know. So I could speak about non-duality from memory. I could look into my memory and give an answer. But it's got a different flavour to it, a different taste to it. The same if somebody asked me how to use a MacBook Pro, I would have to use memory in order to teach them. And you can use memory and be free, like still be deeply present, deeply in that sense of presence. But it's a different type of energy, like me explaining from my memory how to use a MacBook or non-duality to just speaking from presence without any memory. So you're spontaneously speaking. And what you want is you want to be doing that most of the day and then only using your memory and your imagination when it's needed. So that's speaking about non-identification. But when you're identified, everything is through memory, everything is through the mind, everything is through thought. And it comes with this agitation, this seeking energy, that everything it's doing, so if it's explaining how to use the computer, it's doing it from seeking. It's doing it to get love or to get away from fear. It's always in this agitation. So it means that when you come to do talks as a non-duality teacher, you can't just switch it on. You can't just be like, okay, now I'm going to give a talk and we'll switch it on. Like you have to wait for the talking to happen. It's not like Lisa the character can say, okay, now we're gonna speak about non-duality. Like you have to wait for the stillness to move the speaking. And that's not something I can teach you. You really have to investigate that for yourself. But I can point to it. It's very blissful when that happens. It's very blissful for me to speak about non-duality from this no-mind place. And it's very blissful for you when you do activity or do something from a no-mind place. It doesn't mean you can't use the mind, but the mind is secondary. So if we go back to the title today, so let me just remind myself of the title. The voice in your head is not who you are. So when you were born, you were not the voice in your head. You were pure stillness expressing. Stillness watching the room. It was so intimate, there wasn't even a stillness watching. There was simply room, which was still and in movement simultaneously. There was just freedom. There was nothing that was identified with anything when you were born. There was consciousness experiencing itself through a body and not separate from anything it was experiencing. Then what began to happen after a couple of years of being taught language is your parents began to tell you, you are your name, so you are Christopher. You are that body. You are your actions. You are good or bad or right or wrong. You are all these things. And it's like a deep hypnosis that begins to happen, where something happens seemingly in the body, where the body begins to believe that it is what it's being told it is. So an illusion begins to arise through these thoughts. So at first it was nothing, just experiencing it, itself, the baby, and then it begins to believe, I am a body. Oh yeah, I am a body. It's not consciously thinking that, it just begins to believe it, and this is where seeking begins. Then it seeks to be a body. I am a body, and to maintain a body. I am a name. Yes, I am my name. And then maintain its name, maintain its image, be a good boy or a good girl. Be right, be better than. And then before soon, it's totally lost in this dream of who it thinks it is. Just totally lost. So I have to just ask my window to be open again. I don't know, maybe it's my age and being a woman, I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm burning up in this room without the window open. Yeah. So this hypnosis happens where you are the body, you are the story of who you've been told you are. And then it's so ironic, it's maybe a little bit like when sometimes when you get into abusive situations, you then begin to self-tell yourself that, and then seek to be that. So you get told, I am the body, I am this name, and then you begin to seek to maintain that story, totally forgetting who you are as stillness and as presence. And it becomes a very insecure reality to be that. Sorry, love, I think I need it all open. I don't know what's happening to me. I might be having menopause stuff. I think I need it fully open. I don't know what's happening. Thank you so much for doing that. And to go back home to who you truly are, it might seem like a bit of a scary notion, because stillness is really still and free of everything. Free of the dream of you, free of what you need to be, where you need to go, what you need to do. It's totally free. And that's really a collapse of this constant illusion that's being played in your mind, where you've got to go, what you've got to do, who you've got to be, what needs to happen. It's totally a collapse of that, just back into what's happening. And what's happening is totally empty and full simultaneously. It's not moving and it's moving. It needs nothing from anybody. The character needs things, but who you truly are needs nothing. And that can be really terrifying for an identified person, because it's such a different way of being. So still and empty. You know, the person is used to constantly having a film running of who they are, where they are. You know, I live in this place, I do this, I do that, I have this friends. It's constantly telling a story of you. But yet deeper below that, just behind that, is such a presence, such a fullness that needs nothing, just here, right now. Totally empty. So it's only the person that's agitated, it's the person that wants to get somewhere. What else are you beyond that? beyond the person trying to get somewhere. What else are you? Right here. What else is happening? So just now, for all the people in Zoom and all the people listening on YouTube, that just I can see the people on Zoom, so it's easier to speak to them. So just now, where does your story want to go? What does your story want? What's your story trying to achieve? The story is so convincing. The problem is this, the problem is them, the problem is because I haven't got this, I should be there if I was somewhere else. It's always telling you what the problem is, and it's stopping this inward exploration. Is there something deeper than the story that is absolutely free right now? So the story is playing, and then what else is happening? What else is here? What else is free? Who is it that wants to get somewhere else? Who is it that wants something better than right now? And that who most probably really wants you to not look inwards, because it's like wanting is, Nonduality calls it the outward facing mind. It's wanting to find the solution out there because it believes it's easy. If I can buy it, if I can negotiate it, if I can get it, if I can do it, then that's a lot easier. It doesn't want to go inwards. So there's that energy that wants to get something. And then if you go inwards, who is it that wants to get somewhere or get something? Who is the person that you think yourself to be? Nice. Maybe that is the end of the introduction today. So if you have any questions, you can raise your hand in Zoom. You can put them in Telegram, you can write them, or you can write them in the chat in Zoom.